There comes a moment in every person's life when they're no longer just living for today, but for the version of themselves they are becoming. And whether they realize it or not, every action, every thought, every small habit is being recorded, reflected, and multiplied in the life they will soon be living. That is the truth I want to bring to your attention today. You may be listening from a quiet room, from a car, or from your workplace. But wherever you are, I urge you not to drift. For the next 40 minutes, your future self is watching, and the decisions you make today will determine whether that version of you smiles in gratitude or silently shakes his head. The difference between those who rise and those who fall is not chance. It's choice, it's awareness, and it's the decision to listen carefully to the voice of reason, discipline, and possibility when it arrives. So I ask you now, are you ready to hear it? You see, there are no ordinary moments. There are only choices, either moving you forward or keeping you stagnant. Most people live as if their lives were meant to be repeated, waiting for another chance, another Monday, another year. But you and I both know this moment never returns. That's why I invite you, right now, to make this moment a turning point. And while you're here listening with purpose, let me encourage you to do something simple that helps spread this message further. If this voice stirs something inside you, take a second now to like this video and subscribe. Why? Because when you align yourself with truth and repeat that alignment through action, you create momentum, and momentum is how you outrun the inertia that holds most people back. It's not just support, it's a declaration that you've chosen growth over guessing, commitment over comfort. Now let's begin. You and I were not made to drift. Just like a ship was never meant to remain docked in safety, you were never meant to settle for mere survival. Yet the average person spends their life reacting instead of directing. They react to bills, to deadlines, to the weather, to what people say. Their life becomes a sequence of external triggers, and they never realize that they've handed the steering wheel to circumstances. But if you can wake up, if you can stop and realize that your thoughts are the captain of your soul, then your entire direction changes. You begin to act instead of react. You start choosing instead of floating. And that, my friend, is the first spark of power. There's a simple law I want you to write down and remember. It will change your life. We do not attract what we want, we attract what we are. That's the law. Your habits, your speech, your level of discipline, they're not random behaviors. They are magnetic blueprints, and the future you're building is forming not in your fantasies, but in your rituals. What you tolerate, you repeat. What you repeat, you become. So if you've ever said, "Why does this keep happening to me?" Stop and ask instead, what am I practicing that invites this into my life? Because whether you realize it or not, you're practicing something every day. You're either practicing strength or weakness, clarity or confusion, intention or indifference. Now, if that feels sobering, good. You see, the truth isn't always comforting, but it is always liberating. Most people will never hear what you're hearing right now. They'll never pause long enough to consider that their routines are shaping their fate. But you're different. You're listening for a reason. Perhaps you've felt the tug that life should be more. Perhaps you've wondered what happened to the fire you once had. Or maybe you're tired of living on repeat and ready to step forward into the unknown with purpose. If so, let this be the line you draw in the sand. Not tomorrow, not next week. Now, this is your hour to start again with power. Let me give you a picture. Imagine your future self is watching you right now, 10 years from now, 20, and he or she is whispering from across time, "Please don't waste this season. Please get serious now while it still matters." Because one day your ability to transform will shrink. Not because time takes it away, but because your habits calcify, your doubts grow louder, and your energy starts answering to exhaustion instead of vision. That's why we must act while the fire is still within reach. You can change your direction in a single moment of clarity. This could be that moment. The most powerful transformations begin not with motivation, but with a decision to act despite resistance. Let's be clear, your future is not waiting for perfect conditions. It's waiting for you to commit in imperfect ones. If you've been waiting for the right mood, the right support, the right time, let me save you years of wandering. Those things may never come, and even if they do, they won't change who you are unless you first decided to act with what you already have. You don't need a miracle. You need a pattern of thought, a pattern of self-talk, a pattern of choice. Change your patterns, and the results will come chasing after you. But leave your patterns alone, and you'll stay chasing what could have been. You must understand what we call luck is often just the cumulative reward of right thinking repeated over time. It is not an event, it's a consequence. And if that's true, then you are not powerless. You are not stuck. You are not too late. You are simply one shift away from breaking the old chain and starting the new one. Begin by guarding your attention. Refuse to entertain defeat. Refuse to rehearse fear. Refuse to flirt with distraction. Let your mind become a gate and post a watchman at the entrance. From this day forward, permit only that which strengthens your resolve. What you allow into your mind determines what flows out of your life. So here is the affirmation I want you to carry into the rest of this day, and if it speaks to you, write it in the comments and say it aloud. I am one with purpose and power. I walk with direction, free of doubt and fear. That's not just a sentence. That's a declaration. It's the beginning of a new identity. Your future self is not just watching, he's waiting for you to rise, to move, to claim what's already been planted within you. So begin, and don't stop. You have nothing to lose, but you have a life to win. Your mind is the greatest asset you'll ever possess, and yet it is the most neglected, underestimated, and underutilized tool in the world. Most people will clean their car, polish their shoes, and decorate their homes while letting their thoughts gather rust, chaos, and contradiction. But you see, the laws of success are no respecters of appearance. They only respond to inner order. A man becomes the sum of his dominant thoughts because thoughts are not invisible, they are blueprints. They are instructions given to the brain, and the brain, like a faithful engineer, begins building a reality to match what it's told. That is why I will say it again and again, we become what we think about. You cannot sow fear and reap confidence. You cannot think in scarcity and expect to walk in abundance. The garden of your life is being grown by the seeds you allow to remain. Let me tell you a story about a man who wished he had started sooner. I met him in his 60s, a man of intelligence and decency, but one haunted by delay. He said, "If only I had been serious about my thoughts when I was 30, I would be in an entirely different place today." And I remember asking him, "What kept you from beginning?" He paused and said, "I thought I had time." That illusion, I have time, is the thief of destiny. Because while we delay, the clock does not, and neither does entropy. If you do not actively create the life you want, you will passively inherit a life you never intended. Time is not something you use. It is something that uses you if you do not master it. And once it's spent, it cannot be reclaimed. Let me share a principle that you must make your own. The price of success must be paid in advance. It cannot be negotiated after you've arrived. No man stumbles into greatness. He disciplines his thoughts when no one is watching. He says no to distractions when they are loud and persistent. He chooses clarity over comfort. And while others are chasing trends, he is building foundations. You cannot harvest a crop you never planted. And yet how many walk through the fields of life, empty-handed, confused as to why nothing is growing? It's because the seed was never sown. The law is exact. What you plant, you will reap. And what you fail to plant, you will do without. Let's talk about distractions. In this modern world, they are no longer occasional interruptions. They are designed invasions. You live in a time when your attention is the most valuable currency. If they can steal your focus, they can stall your future. So I urge you now, unplug from the trivial. Reconnect with what's eternal. The man who masters his attention masters his life. Close the tabs, mute the noise, and listen to your own deeper calling. Every distraction you eliminate brings you closer to the center of your purpose. And clarity is not a gift. It is earned. It is wrestled from the fog by those willing to be still, to go deep, and to listen longer than the world around them. You will often hear the phrase, "You are what you eat." But I tell you, more dangerously, you are what you consume mentally. What you read, what you rehearse in your head, what you tell yourself quietly before sleep. This is what you become. A man is forged not in the fires of the public stage, but in the silence of private thought. And you cannot fill your mind with garbage and expect your life to smell like roses. Elevate your inputs and your outputs will follow. Choose books over noise. Choose ideas over gossip. Choose reflection over reaction. And one day, without realizing it, you will find yourself walking in rooms that once intimidated you, not because the room changed, but because you did. Now I want you to understand something important. Your mind is not a cage. It is a key. It can lock you into patterns of limitation, or it can unlock realms of potential. But the key must be turned. You must decide, will I stay a prisoner of my old ways of thinking, or will I step out into the light of renewed awareness? One of the greatest acts of power you will ever perform is this: choosing a new thought, replacing an old narrative, catching yourself in a limiting belief and saying, that is no longer true for me. At that moment, you are no longer a victim of your past. You are the architect of your future. And here's what I want you to remember. No one can do this for you. Motivation is not transferable. No one can install self-discipline into your mind. It must be chosen. And every day that you repeat that choice, the easier it becomes. The man you want to become is not found, he is built. And the materials of his construction are within your reach today. All you need to do is begin stacking them, brick by brick, choice by choice, thought by thought. There is no shortcut, but the good news is there is a path, and you're already on it. Let me give you a powerful statement to carry into the next hour of your day. Say it to yourself, and if it rings true in your spirit, write it below and make it yours. I think with clarity, speak with purpose, and move with intention. I do not drift, I decide. Because in the end, your life will not be the result of what you hoped for. It will be the result of what you repeatedly chose to become. Not one grand decision, but 1,000 small ones. Not a single lightning bolt, but the steady climb of a staircase built by consistency. That is where power lives. That is where destiny is formed. And if you ever begin to doubt whether this matters, remember this. Your future self is not a stranger. He is the accumulation of the thoughts you allow today. She is the reflection of the standards you set in this hour. He will either be grateful you stayed awake or wish you had listened longer. Do not wait. Do not postpone greatness. Begin now while the fire is near. Because once it's gone, the road becomes longer and the climb becomes steeper. But while it's here, you can rise, and you will. There is something inside you right now that already knows what you need to do. It's not confused. It's not waiting for more information. It's not asking for permission. It's waiting for alignment. And what is alignment? It's when your thoughts, your words, and your actions point in the same direction. Most people feel tired not because they lack energy, but because they're split inside. Their goals say one thing, but their habits say another. Their vision says, I want peace, but their schedule screams chaos. That inner tension, the mismatch between desire and discipline, is the cause of quiet misery in millions of lives. But you can end that right here, right now. Alignment doesn't happen by accident. It happens by truth, followed by commitment. And commitment is not a feeling. It is a decision repeated daily, regardless of mood. Let me tell you this clearly. No man can borrow discipline. He must earn it. He must forge it in the moments when no one is watching, when the bed is warm and the dream feels far away. Discipline is not a punishment. It is a form of self-love. The disciplined man is not deprived. He is focused. He says no to what doesn't matter, so he can say yes to what does. And in a world where attention is scattered and energy is leaking from every open window, discipline is how you seal the cracks. It's how you keep the warmth of your vision from escaping. It is not something you either have or don't have. It is something you build rep by rep, thought by thought, decision by decision. And today is a perfect day to begin. If you've ever felt like you're behind, let me remind you, the man who begins today has already lapped the man who keeps waiting for tomorrow. The myth of the perfect time has robbed more people of their future than any disaster ever has. The man who waits for the right moment will find his life spent in preparation for a day that never comes. But the man who begins now, with what he has, where he is, discovers that motion creates momentum, and momentum changes everything. Even the smallest action in the direction of your goal can produce a shift so powerful it unravels months of stagnation. That's how it works. Life does not reward the perfect. It rewards the mover, the doer, the one who begins while still afraid. I want you to think of your mind like a factory. Every thought you allow is a raw material, and every repetition is a blueprint being sent down the assembly line. Now imagine you let in fear, doubt, and comparison every day. What kind of product will your life produce? Now flip the script. Imagine feeding your mind with strength, purpose, and conviction. Imagine repeating to yourself, I am in control. I am capable. I am becoming more every day. Suddenly, the machines change speed. The output improves, the product evolves. That's not fantasy, that's neurology. That's reality. That's why the most important choice you'll make today is not what to wear, what to eat, or even what to do, but what to think. And once you've chosen the thought, protect it. Now here's a truth most ignore. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. You can write all the visions you want, you can dream as big as the sky, but if your systems don't support the dream will collapse. Systems are the unseen scaffolding behind every great life. If you want to be healthy, you need a system for movement, nutrition, and sleep. If you want to be wealthy, you need a system for earning, saving, and investing. If you want peace, you need a system for boundaries, stillness, and reflection. The beauty is, these systems aren't given, they're built. You're not at the mercy of chance, you are a builder, whether you've realized it or not. Let me ask you a question. Who do you admire? Who lives the kind of life that makes you think, yes, that's it, that's what I want? Study them. Don't envy them. Study them. Not what they post, but what they do daily. Because behind every extraordinary life is an ordinary routine, repeated with extraordinary consistency. You'll find morning rituals, quiet time, written goals, planned days, physical discipline, mental nutrition. Success leaves clues, and those clues are not found in highlight reels. They're found in habits. Build your habits like a craftsman building a house, deliberately with purpose, and with the knowledge that someone will live inside it. That someone is you. Here is another principle I want you to tattoo on your mind. The pain of discipline weighs ounces. The pain of regret weighs tons. One can be lifted with effort. The other will sit on your chest for the rest of your life. Choose wisely. When you want to quit, remember what it costs. When you feel lazy, remember what it steals. Regret is the interest paid on inaction. But discipline is the currency of peace. And peace of mind is not found in what we achieve, it's found in knowing we did not run from the hard things, we faced them, we overcame, we grew. And when you lay your head down at night, that kind of peace cannot be bought. If you're still here with me, then you're not here by accident. You're here because something in you is tired of compromise, tired of half efforts and false starts. You've already lived enough days in the shadow of your potential. Now it's time to walk in the light of your ability. Let go of the need to be perfect. Let go of the shame of past missteps. Let go of the idea that other people's approval is the key to your destiny. It's not. The key is already in your hand, and the door is not locked. You need only turn the knob and step through. It starts now. Not next month. Not next year. Now. Here is your declaration for today. Say it and type it if it moves you. I build systems that support my future. I choose discipline over delay. I live in alignment. Let these words not just be lines you recite, but truths you reinforce with action. Say it in the morning. Say it when you're tired. Say it when you feel like stopping. And remember, every time you say it, you're choosing your future over your feelings. You're choosing to rise. If you've ever found yourself staring at a blank page, unsure where to begin, understand this. Every masterpiece began as nothing. The man who builds a life of greatness does not start with more tools. He simply starts with more clarity. He doesn't wait for inspiration. He commands it by moving. The blank page only defeats the one who hesitates too long in front of it. But the one who picks up the pen, who writes the first line, even if it's imperfect, he begins to harness the most powerful force in the world. Momentum. Motion, not motivation, is the secret. You'll never feel completely ready. You'll rarely feel like it's the perfect day. But once you start, once you act, the fog begins to lift. And that's when you realize that action clears doubt far better than thought ever could. Let's talk about vision. Most people misunderstand what vision is. It's not just dreaming about a better life. It's seeing it so clearly that you begin walking differently, speaking differently, thinking differently. Vision is not fantasy. Vision is a preview of what's possible when preparation meets belief. And the man who carries vision becomes a magnet for the resources, people, and strength needed to realize it. But vision must be fed. It must be reviewed daily, nurtured like a fire that will go out if neglected. Have you written yours down? Can you see it when you close your eyes? If not, you don't have a vision, you have a vague hope. And hope is not a strategy. Vision is. So feed it, protect it, and walk in it. The reason most people fail is not because they lack potential. It's because they break faith with their vision. They let temporary setbacks question what was always theirs. They experience delay and begin to doubt the design. But I'll tell you something I've learned from every great man I've studied. The delay is part of the development. It is in the waiting, the failing, the trying again, that strength is forged. Do not let the silence between effort and result convince you that nothing is happening. The seeds you've planted are working beneath the surface, and like the farmer, you must keep tending even before the first green leaf appears. Break faith with your vision, and you kill the harvest. Stay loyal to it, and you'll see it come to pass. I want you to remember this law, one that shapes the invisible architecture of every successful life. You become the steward of what you respect. If you do not respect your time, it will be wasted. If you do not respect your mind, it will deteriorate. If you do not respect your purpose, you will abandon it when it gets hard. But the man who respects his life, his thoughts, and his vision begins to carry himself differently. He doesn't need applause, he doesn't seek permission. He walks with the quiet confidence of a man who knows he's building something eternal. And here's the secret. Respect is not something you wait to feel, it's something you decide to give. To your work, to your words, to yourself. One of the simplest and most profound habits you can begin today is reflection. 10 minutes, that's all. 10 minutes a day of reviewing where you've been, what you've done, what you've avoided, what you're aiming toward. A journal, a chair, a quiet place. No noise, no screens, just you and your mind. This small practice will place you among the top 5% of thinkers, because most people do not reflect, they react. And reaction leads to repetition. But reflection, that's where wisdom lives. That's where progress becomes visible. That's where your path becomes sharp. The man who reflects lives deliberately. The man who ignores reflection walks in circles. Let's explore a powerful shift that only the serious will make. Stop asking, what do I feel like doing today? And begin asking, what would the future version of me do today? That question, when asked honestly, will recalibrate your life. It pulls you out of comfort. It lifts your eyes from the ground and forces you to look forward. Most people are led by their moods, and moods are fragile. But the man who is led by vision and governed by discipline moves consistently regardless of how he feels. That is strength. That is rare. And that is available to you the moment you stop letting your feelings vote on your future. Here's another law I want you to engrave into your mind, and if it resonates, type it in the comments. You are always training something. Whether you realize it or not, you are rehearsing a mindset, reinforcing a behavior, and repeating a standard. The question is, what are you training? Are you training procrastination? Are you training avoidance? Or are you training courage, follow-through, and resilience? Life is a gym, and every moment is a rep. Choose what muscles you're building. Every decision is a repetition. Every repetition is forming the character that will either carry you to your dreams or carry you back into comfort. When you begin to live this way, with intention and reflection, with vision and discipline, you'll start to feel a shift. It won't be loud, it won't be flashy, but you'll notice a quiet power rising in you. Your conversations will change. Your distractions will lose their grip. And your priorities will begin to arrange themselves around your purpose. You'll move through your days with less noise and more focus, and people around you will sense it. They may not be able to name it, but they'll feel it. That's what alignment feels like. That's what personal mastery feels like. And it doesn't come from luck. It comes from daily decision. So I want to leave you with a declaration today that will guide your next steps. Say it to yourself right now, and if it resonates, write it below. I respect my vision. I reflect with intention. I train who I want to become. Let that sentence become your compass. Repeat it when you're tempted to drift. Whisper it when doubt creeps in. Shout it when you feel your strength rising. Because if you hold this truth close, you will rise, and not just once, but repeatedly as a lifestyle. And that is how transformation becomes permanent. There comes a season in every person's life when comfort is no longer acceptable. When average begins to itch. When the routines you once tolerated begin to feel like quiet poison. That season is not a crisis, it is a calling. It's your higher self inviting you to rise, and when that invitation comes, you must not ignore it. Because if you do, life will begin to dim. The fire will shrink. You'll still be breathing, but you won't feel alive. Too many people learn to live with a low flame, and they call it maturity. But it's not maturity, it's resignation. The man who accepts stagnation is not wise, he is asleep. And life, my friend, was not meant to be sleepwalked through. It was meant to be seized. If you're still here listening, you already know this truth in your bones. You've had glimpses of the man or woman you could become, the moments where you felt unstoppable, the times when your soul spoke louder than your fear. Those weren't illusions. That was the real you trying to get out. But it doesn't happen automatically. The greatest enemy of greatness is not failure, it is distraction. A little scroll here, a little indulgence there, and suddenly a year has passed. 2, 5, the flame doesn't go out all at once. It flickers, then dims, then vanishes, unless you choose to fan it back to life. Let's talk now about identity, because everything you do stems from who you believe you are. A man who believes he is lazy will always sabotage consistency. A woman who believes she's undeserving will reject every opportunity. Your actions cannot rise higher than your identity. So if you want to change your behavior, stop trying to force discipline from the outside. Begin by shifting identity from the inside. Say it to yourself until it becomes real. I am a finisher. I am a leader. I am relentless. These are not affirmations for fantasy. These are blueprints for your future. Identity is not fixed, it is built, and it is built through repetition. One of the simplest yet most powerful changes you can make is to stop identifying with your past. Your past is not a prophecy, it is a report. It tells you where you've been, not where you're going. Too many people wear their past like a tattoo, but your past is not permanent ink. It's a lesson, it's a teacher, it's a rough draft, not the final manuscript. If your past was filled with fear, then let your future be filled with courage. If your past was filled with hesitation, then let your future overflow with decision. You are not bound to the you of yesterday unless you keep rehearsing his voice. Here's a truth you can build a new life on. You become what you consistently expect. That's not just motivation, that's neuroscience. Your mind is always predicting your future, and your body is responding accordingly. If you expect delay, you move slower. If you expect rejection, you speak smaller. If you expect growth, you open. If you expect abundance, you prepare. The expectation you carry is the frequency you broadcast, and life responds in kind. That's why you must be ruthless with your imagination. Stop fantasizing about failure. Stop imagining worst-case scenarios. Start visualizing strength. Practice walking into rooms with calm confidence. Imagine yourself delivering results, building wealth, speaking clearly. The mind rehearses, and then it repeats. Let's now explore a shift that transforms lives. Stop proving yourself. Start expressing yourself. Most people live trying to convince the world of their worth. But the man who knows his worth no longer performs. He produces. He doesn't seek validation, he expresses value. That's a subtle shift, but it changes everything. When you no longer need applause, you become free to build in silence. And silence, I've found, is where the deepest strength grows. You don't need the world to understand your plan. You need only to walk it with conviction. Build quietly, serve quietly, win quietly, and let the results make the noise. Let me offer you something practical. Pick one behavior this week and upgrade it. Not a full overhaul, just one behavior. Maybe it's your morning. Maybe it's how you speak to others. Maybe it's how you react to setbacks. Just one. Why? Because identity is built through evidence. The more evidence you give yourself that you are capable, disciplined, focused, the more you believe it. And once belief locks in, the momentum becomes effortless. Change doesn't have to be loud. It has to be consistent. Tiny hinges swing big doors, and the door to your future will not open by force, but by steady repetition. You may be tempted to say, "This all sounds good, but I've tried before and failed." Let me tell you something plainly. Failure is not a reason to quit. It is proof that you tried to grow. Every great builder has missteps. Every legend has low points. The only difference is that they didn't stay there. They didn't identify with the fall. They stood back up. They learned. They adjusted. They took another step. The path of transformation is not straight. It is crooked, uneven, steep. But the view from the top, that view is earned. And you, my friend, are strong enough to reach it. Let this be your declaration today. Say it with me and write it below. I upgrade my habits. I release my past. I expect strength, and I act from wholeness. This is how you start becoming the version of you that your future self will thank. Not by waiting, not by wishing, but by aligning with that identity now today in the small things. The way you wake up, the way you speak, the way you walk into the room. You are not becoming, you are revealing what was always there. There is a quiet power that enters your life the moment you stop asking for guarantees. The moment you stop needing permission, the moment you decide that certainty isn't required for movement. You see, most people are waiting, not because they lack ability, but because they're addicted to reassurance. They want a sign. They want a guarantee of success before they take the first step. But life doesn't work that way. The bridge appears only after you start walking. And the ones who win are not the ones with perfect plans. They're the ones who move with imperfect confidence. Let me say that again. Imperfect confidence is more valuable than perfect hesitation. The man who walks in faith builds the path beneath his feet. The one who waits builds nothing. Let me remind you of something essential. Risk is not the enemy. Avoidance is. Every time you shrink from a challenge, every time you defer a decision, every time you silence your instinct, you teach your mind that fear is in control. And what you practice, you strengthen. So if you practice avoidance, you deepen it. But if you practice action, even in small ways, you awaken courage, you reinforce capability, you remind yourself that you are not fragile, that you were built for growth. And growth, by definition, happens just outside the zone of certainty. If you're never uncomfortable, you're not growing. You're rehearsing comfort. And comfort, when it becomes a lifestyle, becomes a trap. We live in an age where speed is worshipped. Everyone wants it fast. Results, money, influence. But success, real success, is never rushed. It is grown. It is cultivated. It is the reward of endurance. Let me tell you something timeless. Patience is not passive. Patience is discipline in disguise. The man who waits with intention, who plants and tends and waters and works, he will reap. But the one who plants and pulls, plants and doubts, plants and compares, he'll never see fruit. Don't be deceived by other people's highlight reels. Most of what looks like overnight success is just the visible harvest of years of invisible effort. So stop staring at the clock. Start tending the soil. Let's talk now about comparison. It is the silent thief of purpose. When you measure your life against someone else's, you dilute your energy. You fracture your focus. You begin aiming for targets that were never meant for you. And nothing is more exhausting than chasing a dream that doesn't belong to you. The truth is, you cannot compare chapters when you're writing different books. Someone else's timeline has nothing to do with your mission. Stay in your lane. Build your foundation. And remember, the goal is not to be better than others. It's to be better than you were yesterday. That's the only race that matters. One of the most overlooked truths in life is this. We do not rise to our aspirations. We fall to our preparation. It is not enough to want the future you desire. You must train for it. Just like an athlete prepares for the arena, you must prepare for the life you claim to want. You say you want peace, but do you train your mind to stay calm? You say you want success, but do you train your habits to deliver it? You say you want greatness, but do you train your character to sustain it? The gap between your goals and your reality is called preparation. Close the gap and your future becomes predictable. There is another principle, one that separates the few who live with power from the many who only dream of it. Here it is. Ownership is everything. The moment you stop blaming, stop pointing, stop waiting for the world to change and take full responsibility for your growth, that is the moment your life begins to shift. Ownership means you no longer say, I didn't have time. You say, I didn't make it a priority. You no longer say, I wasn't motivated. You say, I didn't manage my mind. You no longer say, that's just how I am. You say, that's who I was, and this is who I'm becoming. This is not semantics. This is sovereignty. This is power. If you want to create real, lasting transformation, don't just set goals, set standards. A goal is something you hope to reach. A standard is something you refuse to fall below. Most people fail not because their goals are too high, but because their standards are too low. Raise your standard for how you spend your time. Raise your standard for how you speak about yourself. Raise your standard for the effort you bring to the table. And once you raise it, enforce it. Standards without enforcement are just wishes. But enforced standards, that's where integrity is born. That's where self-respect begins to grow. Let me give you something you can apply immediately. Before every decision, ask yourself, does this honor the future version of me? That simple question can save you years. It will simplify your choices, sharpen your focus, and remove the noise. You'll begin to act not from impulse, but from identity. You'll stop compromising for short-term pleasure and start investing in long-term strength. Every choice, every action, every yes or no, it all adds up. And if you stack enough choices that honor your future, your present will begin to transform. That's not luck, that's alignment. Here is the declaration I want you to carry today. Let it settle in your spirit. Say it and type it if you feel it. I move without needing permission. I train for the life I claim. I raise my standard and I own my future. That's the energy, that's the direction. That's how you reclaim power in a distracted world. Not by shouting louder, but by standing firmer. Not by demanding more from life, but by demanding more from yourself. This is how you shift. This is how you lead. There is a force within you that you have not fully accessed yet, not because it's hidden, but because it's buried beneath distraction, self-doubt, and the noise of the world. That force is will, pure, concentrated will, the power to decide, to act, and to follow through, when every part of you wants to stop. Most people never tap into it. They think motivation is the answer. They wait for the right emotion to push them. But those who move mountains do not wait for feelings. They move regardless of them. And when you begin to act from will rather than whim, you graduate from hoping to building. You cross over from wishing to becoming. Will is what separates the many from the few. It is what makes a man unshakable. Now listen to me carefully. No one is coming to save you. No mentor, no breakthrough, no opportunity will do the work for you. The great lie of modern life is that something outside of us will fix what's inside of us. But the truth is, your transformation is your responsibility. Not your parents, not your bosses, not the world's. The moment you internalize this truth is the moment everything changes. Because when you stop waiting for change and start embodying it, you reclaim your life. You stop outsourcing your power. And once power returns to you, even your smallest actions carry weight. There is another lie that needs to be destroyed right now, that it takes years to change your life. It does not. Change begins in an instant. The instant you make a new decision and commit to it with force. Yes, the fruit of that decision will take time to grow, but the seed, it's planted the moment you decide. No more. No more weakness. No more excuses. No more delay. One choice, backed by will and followed with action, can break decades of stagnation. And if you do not believe that, look back at your own life. Some of the most pivotal moments happened not over months, but in seconds. You made a call. You walked away. You finally said yes. The power is in the moment. Use it. Let's go deeper into will. Will is not just the ability to act, it's the refusal to fold. It's getting back up when the plan fails. It's showing up when the crowd disappears. It's pressing forward when the applause stops. Will is forged in solitude. It's not developed on the stage, it's developed in the dark. And that's why most never find it. Because the moment it gets hard, they think something's wrong. But those who understand the game know resistance is the proof of growth. If it's heavy, it's working. If it's uncomfortable, you're expanding. The gym of life will break the lazy, but it will build the unstoppable. Let me tell you something I've observed over and over. Those who win long-term are not the smartest or most talented. They are the most consistent. Consistency is the overlooked superpower. It doesn't get headlines. It doesn't feel sexy, but it outlasts everything. If you can show up when you don't feel like it, you've already beaten 95% of the world. Discipline is what builds capacity, but consistency is what compounds it. And compounding, my friend, is how you turn small wins into unstoppable momentum. It's not about doing everything. It's about doing the right things daily. If you're serious about changing your life, build your non-negotiables. These are the habits, the disciplines, the daily anchors that do not bend under pressure. They are the sacred parts of your routine that you guard with intention. Whether it's 30 minutes of reading, a workout, deep work, journaling, whatever matters most to the future you, protect it. And when life gets chaotic, and it will, your non-negotiables will keep you centered. The world honors the man who honors his time. And time, once directed with will and structure, becomes a weapon. Aim it wisely. There's a spiritual truth embedded in all of this. Life will test you before it rewards you. And that test often looks like silence, like doors that won't open, like effort without result. But make no mistake, Life is not ignoring you. It is watching. It is measuring. It is asking one question: will you persist without applause? And if your answer is yes, if you continue to act with integrity, if you continue to push forward even when no one's watching, then suddenly breakthroughs appear. Opportunities reveal themselves, and people start calling you lucky. But it wasn't luck, it was endurance. The reward is always delayed. That's how you know it's real. There's one more thing you must understand about will. It becomes stronger when shared with purpose. When your why is bigger than your struggle, you become unstoppable. So ask yourself, why must I change? Why must I win? Why must I grow? If the answer is shallow, you'll quit when it gets hard. But if the answer is sacred, if it's tied to your future, your family, your legacy, then no setback can hold you. Will, when tied to vision, becomes divine, and divine will cannot be stopped. So, speak this with clarity, and if it hits home, stamp it in the comments below. I SET from will, not mood. I persist without praise. I am built for endurance. That is not just a line, it is your compass. Let it guide you tomorrow when the feelings fade. Let it guide you when the path narrows. Let it guide you when the old voices whisper. Because now you are not powered by chance. You are powered by choice. And that, my friend, is how legends are made. If you've come this far, it means something in you is waking up. It means you are no longer satisfied with surface living. It means you've decided consciously or unconsciously that mediocrity is no longer acceptable. And that decision, even if quiet, is everything. Because all transformation begins with a decision. The man who decides to rise will find a way. The one who hesitates will always find a reason. There's no mystery here. Your future doesn't respond to feelings. It responds to standards. And if you've raised your standard in these last few minutes, then you're already moving in a direction most people will never choose. Not because they can't, but because they won't. Comfort whispers louder than calling, but not for you. Not anymore. Now let's ground this journey in action. You've listened, you've reflected, you've remembered. But the next phase belongs to what you do. Action is the gateway between the man you are and the man you could be. It is the test of your sincerity, the proof of your desire. The one who acts becomes a magnet for momentum. The one who delays becomes a victim of his own excuses. Every day you delay the work is a day your future self has to wait. So let today be the day you break the loop. You don't need to leap, you only need to step. One honest, focused step in the direction of your highest self. That's where your new life begins. And when you act, do it without apology. Stop explaining your goals to people who do not share your vision. Stop shrinking so others can feel comfortable. Stop lowering your voice when your spirit wants to speak. This is not arrogance, it's alignment. You're not here to convince the world of your worth. You're here to live it. And when you begin to act in full alignment with your calling, you'll notice something powerful. Resistance fades. Doubt weakens. People respect what is real, even if they don't understand it. Your clarity will silence their confusion. Your discipline will embarrass their opinions. Because when you walk with direction, you no longer stumble in reaction. But do not forget, this is not a one-time breakthrough. This is a lifetime walk. And to sustain it, you must build rhythm, ritual, routine. That is how warriors are formed. Not in the fire of one big event, but in the repetition of thousands of small decisions that compound into greatness. So structure your days. Bookend your mornings and your nights with discipline. Guard your time like gold. Your calendar is your battlefield. Fill it with what builds you. Every time you control your schedule, you reclaim your life. Let me give you one final law, and I want you to burn this into your thinking. The reward is always equal to the identity required to receive it. You will never out-earn your mindset. You will never outgrow your habits. You will never hold with weak hands what was meant for strong character. That's why I've said it repeatedly, don't chase outcomes, build the identity that attracts them. Do you want wealth? Then become a steward. Do you want peace? Then become someone who protects their mind. Do you want influence? Then become someone who serves with humility and precision. Identity is the gateway to every level you've been dreaming about. And remember this, there are no accidents here. You didn't hear this message by chance. You didn't stumble into this moment randomly. Something within you aligned, something inside you reached forward. That's not coincidence, that's confirmation. And now that it's here, Your only job is to respond. Not tomorrow, not when you're ready, but now. The voice you heard through these words, it's not mine, it's yours. The part of you that's been patient, waiting for your permission to lead. Let that voice take the wheel. Let that version of you rise. Let him run. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are becoming. And becoming is not clean. It is not always pretty, but it is sacred because it is yours. Every stumble, every detour, every quiet recommitment, these are not signs of weakness. They are proof of your process. They are evidence that you are still in the fight, and that, more than any title or applause, is what makes you unstoppable. You're not waiting for the perfect moment. You are declaring it, right now, with every breath. Let this next decision be the loudest one you've made yet. Say this with fire, and write it so it echoes beyond this moment. I walk in alignment. I act with authority. I am no longer waiting. I am becoming. Say it again. Breathe it in. Feel the shift, because this is not just a speech. This is not just a video. This is the turning of a page. The next chapter begins now, and it will be written by your discipline, your vision, your will. You have the pen. You have the page. Start writing. And before you leave this moment, take one last action. If this message lit something inside you, share it. Send it to someone you respect. Leave a comment. Save it for the days you forget who you are. Because the more you surround yourself with this energy, the more it becomes who you are. This isn't a trend. This is a new standard. And from this moment forward, your life will reflect it. Speak less, build more. And remember, your future self is not waiting to be rescued. He's waiting for you.